This is gonna be fun. This is one of those rare episodes that Cage is prepared for. So he has some questions. He said that's gonna make excellent content. So
Yes.
I don't know if that builds a suspense for you guys. It certainly does for me
I can
because
just start right off with one. What if CAT really meant dog? It's just a question that I have. I ponder from like it's just one of those like odd things in the universe, right? Like what if CAT really meant dog? See, I prepared for this one.
So Anthony doesn't know my co-host. He doesn't know how he rolls. I take it he hasn't watched our content, which makes sense. So I'll kick it off here. You guys know this man. Summertime Cards, one of the best collections in the game, but also someone that's a thought leader in progressive kind of things that are going on, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and such. Guys, this is our show. This is called Crypto Casuals. So it's a very light, very casual show where we talk about things that are going on in the sports card and memorabilia space, but also in NFTs and crypto and how those overlap. Anthony, that's my co-host. He's an interesting guy. He's one of the best in the game, and he was just having a laugh. So I want to welcome you to the show.
I got a million questions like that.
I know.
So I'm excited about this, and here's why. You ready, Summertime Cards? Because you're Summertime Cards. You're Summertime Cards, and we are in a weird space. We're in a weird space in the hobby right now, and I want to talk about your cards. You got a sick collection. Anybody who hasn't checked out Summertime Cards page, go check out the page. Some really awesome cards. Like I'm going to try to buy 3 or 4 of them by the time this episode's done from you. Put the arm on you and try to steal a couple of them. But, you've also gotten into NFTs. Now, you have not gotten away from cards. You haven't changed your name to Summertime NFTs. So anybody out there who's thinking, oh, this guy doesn't do cards anymore, he's completely left, he's gone, no, that's not what's happened here. We'll make sure we do that. So Andrew's plan is a good one. Let's talk about cards for a little while. Let's talk about your card journey, and then we can get into the NFTs and kind of how we've gotten there and how you think there's a little bit of an overlap between the two and how it's possible for a modern collector such as yourself to still do both, and why certain aspects of each one might be the better play that day, that week, or that month. So without further ado, Summertime Cards, let's talk about how you got into the hobby.
So thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. I'm excited for this today. So card hobby, just as a kid, I had an older brother and he was collecting cards. We used to go like to 7-Eleven. They used to sell the packs. And I used to see him into it. I was like obsessed with sports as a kid. And I fell into the sports card rabbit hole as a kid. It's like all I ever wanted was like a box of cards. That was like it for me, other than going to a game itself. So yeah, as a kid, collected, used to go to all the card shows, used to go like bowling alleys where there were card shows in the middle of the mall, which now it's all like happening again, which is very interesting. I saw like a card show at a mall the other day. So did that, went to college. I fell back in 2006 or 7, I think. My friend Gio Gonzalez got drafted to the major leagues. And I started to collect his cards. And then in collecting his cards, I kind of like started to buy like other stuff. I was collecting Isaiah Thomas, was a guy I really liked, the 60th pick in the draft. I was like, nobody knows this kid. I'm going to buy him. I know he's going to be good. I bought other players as well, like Brandon Knight, a couple of other guys. And then like every so often, like once a year, I would order a box of Prism. And that kind of kept me like in the hobby. I used to mess around on Blowout a little bit. Then throughout this time, as a profession, I was a professional sports bettor. And I was like basically spent all my time doing that. And a few years ago, I'd done well with the sports betting. I said, okay, I want to there's like a couple of cards I really want to get. One of them was the Fleer Jordan PSA 8. I was like, I'm going to get this card. Like I've done well. I can afford to buy it. So I went, at the time, I'm like, I wasn't cards really, it wasn't this past national, it was the one before. So a few years ago. So cards weren't quite where they are now. So I'm like, it's a lot of money for a sports card, but I really want it. So I bought it. I got a Patrick Mahomes Prism Silver PSA 10 at that national, and as well as a Luka Doncic Prism-based PSA 10 for $50, which I ended up selling later down the line. But that national is like, after that, I fell in, and then I stayed in the whole time. I started buying Trae Young Prism base. I graded them. I sold them like, wow, the returns on this grading thing is amazing. So I started doing that. I would sell stuff with that money. I would buy the cards I really wanted. Then COVID hit. So now there's no sports whatsoever to wager on. So I said, well, the only thing I've kind of been doing on the side that's been kind of making me money is this whole like grading thing. And I enjoyed doing it because I was collecting at the same time. So during COVID, I just basically would spend all my days just buying cards, like ungraded cards, grade them, sell them, and then try to acquire grails in between and doing that. Ended up PCing Zion and getting some nice cards of his. And I have a little Michael Porter Jr. PC. Created the Instagram account throughout this, built that up. There was no sports card show in Miami, which drove me nuts because I was seeing everybody else having their local shows to go to, and I didn't have one. And one of my friends, after I went to a show in, where was it? San Antonio. I came back. He's like, how was it? I'm like, it's amazing. I love going to shows. So I get to see the cards in person and I can really tell the condition. And he's like, why don't we just do one here in Miami? So I went ahead, did a small card show in Miami. It was good. Then we did another show. It got more crowded. Then Slab Stocks came to the third show and promoted it, and it was like huge. It was like a lot of people in this kind of like smallish venue that we had. And I said, okay, I got to do a big one because this doesn't work inside of this venue anymore. And then I did a bigger show called the Courtside Card Show here in Brickell, in downtown Miami. And yeah, did that card show, continued collecting. Lately, been spending a lot of time in the NFTs. There's some sports card NFTs that I think are going to be like really big down the line that we'll talk about later. And kind of been my journey so far.
This is Cage. I knew this was going to be a fun episode because just in this intro, I mean, we're 7 minutes in. You touched on like 7 of my favorite topics: sports betting, NFTs, sports cards, how to make money in the space. We'll get into all those. And I also want you, if we at the end, maybe you could give some sports betting tips because we're actually doing a show on Whatnot. And I think that's an interesting space. We'll save that to the end. And I do want to talk about, it sounds to me like you're kind of agnostic when it comes to where the money or where the profit's at. Real quick, Cage, I'll let you go.
Go ahead.
There's something floating around the internet. And really quickly, True Jordan rookie, is it the 86 Fleer or is it the 84 Star? And why? Why is that funny, Cage? 84 is his rookie year. Why is it called the XRC?
Because, and I mean, we have a guest, so I can let the guest answer. And then I'll chime in afterwards. And then I also want him to chime in on whether or not he thinks it's a bananas play to bet the Lions money line. But we can get to that in a second.
Not for a fact.
Yeah, I actually saw that today, so I was thinking about it. No, this is my answer. He doesn't have a rookie. I think he doesn't have a rookie, actually. That would be my answer because he doesn't have a pack pulled card from 1984. So to me, it's got to be rookie year and it's got to be out of a box. So that's my answer right here on this being put on the spot.
Cage, I know we have a guest, but it's floating around the internet and we're a topical show. We do episodes every single day. So when there's topics like that, why is the 84 not his true rookie? Why is that his XRC?
There's no answer for this. I mean, there really isn't. Obviously, our guest took the easy way out, and which is fine. I'm not going to let you do that again, though, during our episode. but so
I don't know. I think that's a very controversial answer, actually.
Saying
that he doesn't have one.
Yeah, but, I mean, then you're not calling one of them a rookie. He has to one of his cards has to be a rookie card. I mean, everybody has a rookie card. I guess what you're saying,
Anthony, we make plays during the week. He doesn't skip any games, so to him,
I don't.
So he has to make a decision. No decision is not
basically especially for content. I mean, if I were a gambler, which I'm not, because all gamblers, there are 2 types of gamblers out there. There are people who lose when they first start gambling, or there are people who lose eventually. But gamblers ultimately lose. It's like motorcycle drivers. There are 2 kind of motorcycle drivers out there: people who have gotten in an accident and people who will get in an accident. So gambling's difficult, man. Ultimately, the house is going to take your money one way or the other. But for our show, if there's 16 games, I'm going to give you what my thoughts are on 16. I'm not going to be confident on them. I'm going to tell you on some of them, I wouldn't really put real money on this, but I'm going to tell you which way I lean, right? And listen, I guess it's not I guess it's not a cop-out answer to say he doesn't have a rookie card. The term rookie card is something it's debatable, right? I mean, I would say that, that rookie logo on rookie cards, even that's interesting, right? Because you got ones now where it's the guy's second year, right? You got like Yordan Alvarez, it's got the rookie cup on. He already won rookie of the year before he had the rookie card, and that rookie logo wasn't added on cards until baseball added that to cards in 2006, right? So that's not even like a bright line demarcation. But basically, the way I would define a rookie card is an athlete's first appearance on a trading card that is a licensed issue from a major manufacturer that is widely distributed. I don't really have to do pack pulls, right? So that's but it's got to be widely distributed, licensed, major manufacturer, first appearance on their trading card. I mean, that to me is the deal. That's why the 86 Fleer is, because the star, why people consider an XRC is, yes, it was his first year, it wasn't his third year, but it was it was a regional distributed team bag, basically, it wasn't distributed widely. Pack pull, sure, that's usually a great indicator of wide distribution for a card. And guys, just so that everybody on listening to this knows, I have a PSA 10 86 Fleer Jordan, and I have a BGS 8.5 with 9 centering star. I have them both because I don't know which one ultimately will be the better one. I mean, obviously, money talks, and the 86 one, is well outpacing the star. For me, that is a rookie card, right? That to me, that's a rookie card. A great one, better than Jordan, is Tiger Woods.
That's what I was thinking.
Right, Woods is the better example, because forget about third year, right? 01 Upper Deck had they issued Tiger Woods. Right, and Woods has had a lot of cards before that, including the 96 Sports Illustrated for Kids card, which was widely distributed. Not exactly quote unquote licensed. I mean, it's not it's not really licenses at the time until Upper Deck came out with them. There's that 1997 Masters card that I just gave away as part of our whatnot live on Sunday. So I mean, it's a great debate. It's good content. Ultimately, to me, it's a supply and demand thing, right? That's why I add in that wide distribution, because, you want to have enough supply, you want to have people have demand for it and the whole deal. But ultimately, the rookie doesn't always win out. Mickey Mantle, it's the best example of the flip side, right? So 51 Bowman, licensed, widely distributed, that's his rookie card. 51 Bowman is Mickey's rookie card, but it is clearly price-wise significantly under the 52 Topps card for Mickey Mantle. So loads of fun.
I wanted to start there because, guys, we do an episode every day. Our podcast is different than others because we do try to talk about macro stuff, NFTs, grading, what's going on in the hobby, and also topical stuff. So that's been floating around. I thought it would be interesting to you guys. So something you mentioned, one of the things that interested me in NFTs originally was the liquidity, right? Being able to get in and out of assets and be able to make some money, right? What I've noticed in the last year was kind of the small guy being squeezed from two sides, right? So you had product that kept going up in price and grading that kept going up in price. And this middle shrunk, right? So you mentioned when COVID hit, no more sports to bet on. Rudy Gobert touched the mic. We're done. We're out. All the leagues are canceled. Now we have to do sports cards. And you were sending cards to PSA, grading them, making money, flipping them. And that was the way that you can, as Cage always calls this, not necessarily a pyramid, but these layers, being able to color up and start with a $500,000 bankroll, maybe get to 5,000 and start doing that. What about now? And where do you look now for these kinds of opportunities?
You kind of just have to buy more expensive cards to justify the price of the grading. If you're buying you can buy a $500 card now and grade it for $150, and if the card grades a 10, you're going to do good on it. That's kind of what I've been doing. So something like a LaMelo Ball Prism Silvers this year are insanely hard to find. But if you find a centered one, it's going to be worth a lot of money because he's going to have very few 10s. All of his cards are very off center. So I'm buying stuff like that. I bought a LaMelo Ball Courtside Silver, which is super short print. I paid $1,000 for that. I got a very good deal. I would be looking at cards in that range. And then there's also, I haven't been doing it, but I probably will because I have some lower end stuff around, is like the SGC route for like to buy the lower end cards, $100 cards, $50 cards, and send to SGC to grade. And that is a place that a person can kind of go to get their grading done for a cheaper cost to sell. And I know a lot of people have been having success with that. I've seen some people posting some like pictures back and forth of like card selling as a PSA 10 versus SGC 10, and certain cards are doing very well. I think that there's a lot of like obscure players this year who might break out, and if you have those cards graded, even if it's SGC, people are going to want it. So like I collect Kyra Lewis. I have a bunch of his silvers. I'm not going to send them to, they're $20. I'm not going to send them to PSA right now or BGS, but probably it would be smart to maybe send it to SGC and have a bunch of them graded already. And if he, has a great game, I'm sure that people will pay for those just because there aren't going to be any in PSA or BGS holders. So I would go probably the SGC route for the lower end, and still, obviously PSA and BGS, the values are so crazy from a raw to PSA 10, even PSA 9s, I'm sure are going to see an uptick. You can still do it with them for anything, I would say like $400 and up now, since I think they put the price now to $150. But you got to be a little bit more selective too, like making sure you send the cream of the crop, really investigate the cards. And if your submitter offers a nominal fee to look at the card to see if he thinks it's worth grading, I would definitely pay that fee because it will cover itself in the long run.
So, I mean, my issue with it, and you can tell me because, you're running card shows now, which is awesome. It's great to have an idea. It's also great to execute an idea. It's why I love my co-host over here, because every morning I have a million ideas, but nothing would happen on him if he didn't execute them all. So, it's important to have both, right? So here's the fun on it. I believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong, and you would see this from from different angles, from your own collection, and also from card shows, from walking around the mall and seeing kids getting in the hobby, different wallets, different size checkbooks. If most of the people listening probably know what a checkbook is, but so I believe that this hobby, the influx of money that came into the hobby, was a lot of flippers, a lot of people with small bankrolls trying to flip that up into larger bankrolls. It's definitely a lot of our audience. It's definitely a lot of people who listen to us. It's people who, for lack of a better way of saying it, let's use your Trae Young example, right? I mean, you could buy those Trae Young cards for, depending on when you were buying them, $10, $15 raw, $5, 100%, and grade them. So you must have been buying around the same time as I did. I have a 54 card Trae Young, raw Prism order, and I was paying, between $5 and $7 each, and paying $8 to grade them. You're into them for $13 to $15 a card, and then because they held them so long and the prices went up, by the time you get them back, they were $500-$700 for PSA 10s, which is just insane. But the price to enter that right at the time, when you had $5 or $10 base cards for the top rookies, and then $8 to $10 to $12 bulk grading cards, you're talking about the price to enter. You could for $100 bulk sub cost you $1,000, and 100 cards at $5, $7 each. You're talking about $1,500 to $1,700. You're grading 100 cards, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? So you've just said now the way to make money in the hobby is find a $400 or more card and grade it for $150, right? And you get it back whenever you get it back. Basically, what we're talking about now is you have to find 3 cards for the same price as what you were talking about 100 cards on, and you had a shot of getting better grades, getting you name it, and doing that multiple. I hear, and again, tell me if I'm wrong. Isn't that going to cut into the market participants? Isn't that going to cut into the people who are in the show? Isn't that going to cut into people who are collecting, who are trying to color up? I mean, doesn't that make it harder to sustain what I call that bottom? I hate pyramid, but there's no better word to use. I mean, it's not a pyramid scheme, guys. I'm not trying to say that, but the bottom of the pyramid is the one trying to move up, and it causes that upward effect that we've seen over the last couple of years. So is SGC, HGA, those grading companies, are those the way to fill in the gap for a little while before PSA opens back up? Is it raw? I mean, what are you seeing at shows? Are you seeing still the same amount of people? Talk to me about that, because I think that's what our audience, I think if I hear one comment question from them, it's that it's I can't do what I was doing. So what should I be doing for around the same bankroll?
Yeah, I think that like the influx of new people, that definitely is going to slow it down a little bit, because there was a lot of people.
Yep.
And like they come in as flippers, but a lot of them do end up like buying other stuff, and they go from flippers to collectors. There's been quite a few people that have kind of said like they came in with that just strictly in mind, and then they ended up like wanting to own certain things and collecting. So I think that there is going to be like a sect of people who are not going to like fall into that situation that I fell into. I'm like, hold on a second. Wow, this is like amazing for this lower cost. So yeah, that's just kind of like the nature of when a hobby grows and something just takes off in value, like people can't afford it. I think of like Rolex, like stainless steel Rolexes used to be able to go into a store and it would be there and you can buy it and you can own a Rolex, a very nice one that's scarce that a lot of people want, for $8,000. That now if you walk into any Rolex store in the world, they do not have a stainless steel Rolex for sale. They're all sold to dealers. The only way to now get it, to other guys who then resell it. So now the only way to get it is to pay $15,000 to pay double. So they completely cut out, a huge amount of customers, and that's just because the market for watches has exploded. The same as for cards, you're gonna miss people that now are gonna have to basically go another route. I do hope that, like you said, someone like SGC, because I still think they're like at $35. I don't know. They're definitely not at, like you just said, $8. There's nothing like that. And it needs to be $8. It needs to still come back in a reasonable time. It's not like a person's gonna like stay in the hobby, he pays $8, he gets it back in 2 years.
Right.
It used to be like, yeah, I forget what it might have been like $20, but I would get it back like in a month and a half.
Yep.
And some people used to complain about that. Now it's like a month and a half is like you're flying. So yeah, there is going to be a sect of people that like don't come in because the hobby has just gotten expensive. Like a kid can't really buy a box of cards anymore. People say you can, but then you ask them, okay, but like what is it? Oh, it's a college product or some sort of like UFC product. Kids, they kind of know. They want the Prism. They know, like, they see what's on Instagram, what people are posting.
They don't want to buy off the kids menu. They're seeing we're having steak, filet mignon over here, and then you're like, go eat those chicken tenders that are 4 days old.
Yeah,
kids do know. I give Ian a box of Chronicles, and I'm like, it's fun. We're gonna get good stuff. He's like, I don't want this.
Yeah,
I pull Zion Pulsars. What am I supposed to do with Chronicles?
Yeah, so,
pretty much.
Yeah, it's tough.
Guys, so the reason I wanted to have Anthony on, and I really recommend go to his page on Instagram, Summertime Cards. He's done an amazing live with Putnam. He's done amazing live with Rare Pepe Creator. Man, he knows his stuff. One of the things I respect about you is you're agnostic, right, to where the profit is. And one of my favorite things about the hobby is the people. One of my least favorite things about the hobby is the people. They're so fascinating to me. Like, we've already talked about watches, wine, cars, collectibles span art. I mean, they span everything, right? And oftentimes the hobby is like, no, this is the only way to do it. This is the right way. We only collect this. NFTs, digital art. What kind of utility is this? This doesn't make any sense. And then you bring up the examples like, what kind of utility does your piece of cardboard have? And they get a little defensive. So what I like about you is you have an open mind and you understand that, hey, I don't control the market, but I observe. So what got you to NFTs from cards, right? How did you make that switch? And when did you make that switch?
So NFTs. All right. So I owned crypto years ago. People use, I used to be like owed money for my sports betting stuff. I used to have these partners and stuff, and they would send me crypto as an easy way for us to share in the profits. And so I just would take it. They're just like, hey, do you mind? This is easy. I go, yeah, sure. I'll take the crypto. So I've had crypto for a while, and I just held it the whole way through. Thank God. And it went up. And as it went up, I became more interested in it. paid more attention to it, and basically just became a believer long term in cryptocurrency. And NFTs came around, and in February it was like all the rage. I had my eye on it, but I wasn't like fully convinced yet. Like March, April went by, and I saw people posting about the CryptoPunks a lot. I thought it was kind of cool. I remember one time I was walking with my girlfriend, and I said, I actually, the CryptoPunk was 20,000 at the time. I said, it's crazy, but I think that anybody who buys at 20,000 is going to actually kill it. She's like, you should get one. I'm like, are you digital JPEG 20,000? Like, that's insane. I'm not there yet. Like, my brain hadn't really said like, yeah, like go there, like get it. Another month went by. It went up to like 40,000. And then I was thinking about it. Max Putnam cards, he had already bought one. And just one night, it hit me like there's only 10,000 CryptoPunks and there's 21 million Bitcoins. It's 2,000 times more rare than a Bitcoin. It's not cool to show somebody your phone with one Bitcoin in it, but it is cool to show somebody, well, to some people might be, to show like the CryptoPunk.
That's a picture. That's a screenshot. I could do that too.
So I said, this is
not funny, Cage.
2,000. This is 2,000 times more rare, and I think that people are going to want to put it as their icon. At the time, Jay-Z had just put his icon to a CryptoPunk, and Jay-Z's like, anything that guy touches, he could touch something that's not even cool and make it cool. Like he mentioned Hublot watches, which at the time were not popular. He mentioned that, and they went to the moon. So when I saw
he just tweeted about Lucas Tigers last night, so
he's been singing about Hublot watches for a while, the big face ones. He's been
yeah, the Big Bang it was called.
That's back in the Otis song with Kanye. That's part of that. Yeah, exactly. Part of the verses there.
He single-handedly took that watch to the moon.
But listen, I hate this. I hate listening to this because, I mean, when it was 20, 25, 30, I'm like, I'm going to buy one of these. And I just never did. And it's funny because I have the same feeling about that as I do with cards. I mean, it really is. It's like you have, all right, man, I missed out on that. I hate it. I'm not getting into it. Oh, man, I should have bought that. I mean, when I got back into cards, one of the cards, and I never bought one because I'm an idiot. I'm a Raider fan. I hate Tom Brady. Everybody who listens to the show knows that. But, like, Tom Brady's a GOAT. He's awesome. This was before he went to Tampa Bay, obviously. It's a couple years ago. And I wanted an SP Authentic, and I wanted a Bowman Chrome Refractor PSA 10 at the time on eBay. And I was buying cards in these prices, definitely. The SP Authentic PSA 10 was less than $4,000. All right, and what are they, 100 now? Or close to it, closing in on 100. And a Bowman Chrome Refractor, there's not that many of them in PSA 10. You get to see like the 9s, BGS 9s, 9.5s around. But there were several 10s, buy it now on eBay. Like no one was even buying them. And they were like, $40,000, $50,000. I'm like, all right, I should buy one of these. I never did. And what is that? I don't even know what. They don't even sell now because I think there's 9 of them or something like that. So, but now I'm like, I'm not getting it. And then I watched that SP Authentic go from 4 to 10 to 20 to 50, and I'm like, all right, I guess I should have bought it at 10. Same thing with the Punk. Same thing with the CryptoPunk. I remember being at the National, and it went just in one weekend. I think Gary Vee bought one for like $1 million, $3 million, whatever. Either an alien or an ape or whatever he bought. I think an alien. Yeah. And the floor was like, it was like 35,000, 40,000, and then the next day it was like 80. And everybody at the card show, which is funny because we're at like a trade event, everybody is there going, "Oh man, I gotta unlist mine. I gotta delist mine. Like mine, 2 of them sold last night. I didn't even know. Yeah. I had no idea. I gotta my other ones. I gotta, And I'm like, But here's the fun part. Now it's like $300,000. Now I'm like, all right, I missed it. And then in a year, when it's $1 million, I'm like, I should have gotten it at $300,000. I mean, it's just, and I never will though because I missed it. Once I missed it, I'm done. I moved on. I'm on to the next thing.
But missing it is so subjective, like you said. Like people missed the Brady at 4. That's at 10. The guy who bought at 10, he didn't miss it.
That's part of it, right? I mean, that's part of it. It really is. And it really is, those entry levels, right? It really is. It's crazy.
I'm curious, Ant. So it's hard in this NFT space to separate fact from fiction, right? A lot of it's interesting. Like we live in a world where media kind of controls, and media, I don't mean like CNN, CNBC, I'm talking about individual profiles and people with large followings have a real say in how a asset moves. So how do you separate fact from fiction? How do you know what's a good NFT to invest in? How do you know what's even a good NFT project to look at versus this is going to be a rug pull or has potential to be a rug pull?
So it's like similar to cards. So like I love Jordan inserts, right? If you jump in that pool of Jordan inserts and you meet the collectors and you see like how passionate they are about it, and you have these conversations with them about these inserts, you know, like Jordan inserts are not going anywhere. Like these people are obsessed with their Jordan inserts, and like they'll go to the grave with their inserts. You know, maybe if they rise 5x or 10x, they may sell, but they're in no rush to sell it. So you really see like they're in the crypto world, they call it diamond hands. They're diamond hands. They don't really let them go too often. So that will kind of give you a confidence to pull the trigger on one of these things. Or, you know, as you get to know collectors, you just see guys who are just smart. Like I saw Coleman Cards, he bought a Credentials Future Jordan. Like when he goes out of his way to kind of like make a bigger purchase, like it catches my attention. Like because I know he's thought about that a lot, and a lot of research and homework has gone into it. So kind of paying attention to that. So in the NFT world, look to see what the biggest collectors are buying. The guys who somehow every time they buy an NFT within a few months, you know, you see it rise in value. Also, just like I said, going into the Discord, that's kind of like where you see the community of the NFTs and see like, are they talking more about just the values, or do you see people really like talking about the actual NFTs and the collectability of it? And getting a sense, is it more like just flippers in this sector, or is it like similar like a prism-based PSA 10? It's mostly flippers buying that, right? Versus like the more something like more niche and more rare, like an
Ether Rock.
A what?
Like an Ether Rock. I mean, it's stupid looking, but the people who own it are I mean, they're some of the wealthiest crypto holders, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm the most bullish on the Ether Rock. People I think it's a gag when I say that, but I do think it's like one of the best investments in the world, period, because the richest people in the world own the Ether Rock. So they'll die before they sell it for less than what they paid. Each buyer comes in with that mindset buying that Ether Rock. So the only way to get it is to pay more for the next one. And nobody wants to be known as the guy who sold it for less than the last one.
Yeah.
It's like 100 of the most elitist guys. And like, it's not like that. It's not like they're 20 million. It's $1 million. Like $1 million for a lot of these rich guys, it doesn't change their life whatsoever. So they can continue. Even 3 million wouldn't change their life whatsoever. They can continue to just sit on it and wait till someone's willing to pay a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. And again, there's only 100, and it's very much considered like, you know, the ultimate,
to me,
I guess, like NFT status symbol is owning an Ether Rock right now. Same thing. A couple of the most sharpest guys, one of the best basketball sports bettors of all time. His name is Haralabis Valgaris. He works for
you mean John Anthony, right?
Yeah, he's like the real John Anthony, but he never sold his picks. He owns an Ether Rock, and this other guy named Mike McDonald, who's one of the most successful poker players ever, he bought an Ether Rock. So when I saw them buy it, I'm like, and I kind of agreed with it. I knew like this is going to continue to go up for a while. That Ether Rock.
I make the metaphor, the anecdote. It's like if Neil Armstrong, when he went to the moon and came back and had 100 moon rocks, and those were auctioned off, like what would be the value of that? That'd be insane, right? Like everyone would want like a piece of the moon. Yeah, well, if we believe in Ethereum, not as just the currency, but the people that know Ethereum well, it's the DeFi, it's the NFTs, it's this whole world that I kind of call the Sim City of the internet. Well, yeah. I would want the first digital versions of those rocks too. So it does make sense if you forget about like the aesthetic of it and you understand the concept of it.
Give me a plasma bear any day. That's what I'm taking. Give me a plasma. They're cuter.
I don't understand the plasma bears. The Ether Rock also, to an extent, is the meme factor of it. It's like so stupid. Like that is actually part of the appeal to it.
The simplicity.
Like I bought a Pepe that's called Invisible Pepe. So the NFT is nothing. It's just a white screen. And my thought process is the Ether Rock is worth what's worth, partly because of how dumb it is. And the Invisible Pepe is, they call it the first NFT of nothing. So I actually think it's even stupider than the Ether Rock. So I think it actually has a very high upside because of that. Because how can something be dumber than the Ether Rock? I think the Invisible Pepe actually.
People have been making money on dumb things forever. In first grade, I'm not going to out this kid's name. I'm going to call him Wayne. I won't say his last name. It's a real kid. All right. He was into science, and we had some dumb kids in my first grade class. And he went out, and I guess he got it in his kitchen cabinet, whatever it was. And he came in. We were learning, science, first grade science about water, gas, liquid solids, all this fun stuff, right? So he came in with a box full of Ziploc bags, and he wrote on them, and he was selling them for $0.25 each for these Ziploc bags, which, first grade, they were probably $0.01 each is what they cost, the bags. Yeah. Now $0.25 a bag, it's probably about right, but I went to school a long time ago. But he wrote with pen on it, he said, "This bag is full of dehydrated water." And he sold it to kids for $0.25 each. And they were, "I got a dehydrated water. I got a dehydrated water." And Wayne taking advantage of all the idiots in our school. But you're 100% right. Sometimes it's this stupid stuff that people are like, "All right, there you go." It's so dumb, it makes sense.
It's the same reason the pet rock from back in the day took off, because it was so dumb. This is the pet rock, but with a limited supply of 100, and there can't be any more made. And these people are going in on it. If you look at how much the pet rock has probably outsold even the amount of Ether Rock volume from back in the day, because I know that was like the biggest phenomenon out there for like a year.
Cage, Anthony, you're meeting Cage for the first time. He usually does these episodes from home. So his bedroom, he has Crazy Bones and Beanie Babies everywhere. That was his collecting items. Right. I'm curious. I mean, like you said, this is the same game over and over again. I mean, a lot of you guys, I've talked about this, the tulip craze, the tulip bubble. So
there are ether tulips, by the way, Andrew. That should be your favorite thing.
There's ether tulips?
Yeah.
Tell me why this isn't a tulip craze. Why this isn't a digital tulip craze?
The
NFTs in general.
NFTs. Well, it's very much tied to the whole NFTs is the first digital art ever, and art in the world, the thing that sells for the most is art. It sells for more than even the most expensive house. The most expensive art will sell for $300 million. And that's not even the most expensive art, piece of art. It's just the most expensive one that's sold. Obviously, the Mona Lisa is not going to go for sale, but if it did, it would do. I think they value it like what it means to the French economy is like $5 billion. So art is the most expensive. NFTs is the first digital art ever. So, and the way that the world is going, everything's digital. People are on their phones staring at screens all day long. So I just don't see how digital art is not going to continue to be a thing. And even if it's just a fraction of the physical art world, that's going to be enormous. I argue that I think digital art can become even bigger than physical art because it's so seamless. I can sell a $50 million painting like this or NFT to somebody, and we don't have to worry about securing it, putting it in some they put these things in storage houses in places. They have to insure it for insane amounts. They have the fake art in their house and the real art in storage somewhere. You don't have to do that. I can put it in my online gallery, and people can go and look at it. And you just have access to the world, basically, because with crypto, anybody can transact crypto. It's harder to kind of like buy a $50 million or $100 million Picasso. You have to sign up with the auction house. You have to get approved, this, that, the other. If you got the crypto, you can buy it. And it's
automatic verification. You're not blocked. You're not I tried to bid in Golden this past weekend. They have 6 figures of my money from old auctions, and I tried to bid on something. They blocked me. They said, you can't bid on it. I'm like, you guys, I had to email them. You guys are holding more money than what I just bid of mine. What are you doing? Yeah. So you're right. Crypto, it opens the door. You don't have to be pre-qualified. Nothing. It's all in there. Yeah. So let me ask you something, right? Because and we can get into this, and I don't want to get too long. And we'll follow this up with you. You had a little teaser there about sports NFTs, digital, sports NFTs. So we'll talk about that in a sec. But tell me, are you envisioning an Oasis, a Ready Player One world where the Oculus or some other form of it is basically people's release. People come home, and they're on there and they're touring. Everybody has an individual art gallery. Everybody has their own space somewhere. They're putting their NFTs up there, and you're going in. There are clubs, there are malls, is the metaverse. I call the Oasis from Ready Player One, but I mean, is that what you envision?
Yeah, like that's going to happen. Facebook already said that this is from Mark Zuckerberg, quote unquote, we are becoming a metaverse company. Like they are determined to create the metaverse. But yeah, this is what the Oculus, for those that don't know, this is the VR headset that you put this on. It's fully all immersive. And yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the next kind of like frontier where people are going to spend a lot of their time is going to be in the metaverse in a Ready Player One type environment. And there's already, I mean, yeah, you can already go to my gallery inside that and walk around my gallery and see, like I'll show here, I pulled it up. You can already see my artwork inside the gallery, and it doesn't, so this is the gallery I have.
For people, real quick, I just want to read them the definition. So, and you could maybe do your own definition. The metaverse is a virtual reality space in which users can interact with a computer-generated environment, and that's what Anthony's showing you here.
Yeah, it's like a 3D world that you can walk. It's like a video game, except you can actually like walk around. So this is my gallery, so you can walk around.
Is SimCity the right kind of metaphor for this? Is that the way people will understand and visualize it?
I think so, yeah. So like that's the Michael Jordan, this is the first sports-related NFT ever made, and it happens to be Michael Jordan, which I thought was cool.
What is that?
Is there any?
What's that from?
Huh?
What is it? What's that from?
So this is a rare Pepe. It came out in I believe 2016. It's obviously an NFT. It's tokenized. It's on the blockchain. So people say you can make another one. You can't unless you have a time machine, and you can go back to 2016 and mint it on the blockchain because everything is timestamped. And yeah, so then you can click here, and then it tells you the card down here.
Is there any issue with like likeness? Like they're using Michael Jordan's name without his approval.
Well, I believe this is considered satire because it has a frog as his face, so you can get away with it. Basically for all the Pepes, I think that's the case. But also, these are already in the market. So what are you going to do? I don't think that you can really stop it. Once it's in the market and it's trading around, like Andy Warhol also used a million celebrities likenesses. Those sell all the time. So I don't think that will ever be an issue in the NFT world.
And the whole thing about the NFT and crypto is decentralized. So like who do you go after with it, right?
Yeah, there's going to be, I don't think there is yet, but there will be decentralized NFT exchanges too. Like right now you have to use OpenSea, but eventually you'll just be able to put it on a decentralized NFT exchange. You won't have to pay a fee to OpenSea. Now it would just be like basically 0% to even transact them over time.
Let me give you guys a quick anecdote. We'll get into sports betting in a second here, but quick. So you just held up, Anthony, that kind of your own gallery, right? So you mentioned the Mona Lisa is worth $5 billion to France, right? To the French economy. The Louvre, where it's at, people pay admission, $100 to go see it. Now picture this world, guys. You put on your headset and you're in the metaverse. You're having fun. You're at a bar with your friends in the metaverse, and you want to go to Summertime Cards Gallery. He's got some awesome pieces. He's got Jordan with that satire frog on his face. He's got his CryptoPunk in the back in his cigar lounge. He's got it all decked out. And he charges $10 in Ether terms, so 0.001 Ether to get admission to his gallery. And how seamless is that? With Ether, people say, yeah, I would love to. I'm in the virtual reality world. I'm with my friends. You guys want to go check out Summertime Cards Gallery? And just right through the metaverse, not only, are you guys having experience, Summertime Cards is making money off of his investments, which he took a chance and a huge risk on to create a gallery. So there's so much real world application with all of this stuff. So all you guys that say, there's no utility with these NFTs and this art. Well, I just gave you a utility where somebody could create a real business off of the gallery that they bought. No different than art dealers did. I mean, they probably still do, but no different than art dealers have done for the last 500 years. So just to give you guys a little bit of understanding of how this applies in real life. I hope I did it justice. Feel free to add to that if I kind of missed anything.
I think that's true. Yeah, people will be able to charge admission to get in. I think for like the really big collectors, I even think like if you buy, so you can now eventually you'll be able to buy plots of land in the metaverse. There already is some, but I don't think the one that's gonna basically ascend is yet created. But like let's say the biggest NFT collector is this guy named Vincent Van Doe. He has an incredible collection. Like whoever buys the plot of land next to his museum, wherever he puts it, that's going to be worth a lot of money. And then other galleries will pop up the same way in the real world. Like in New York, a lot of the galleries, all the best ones are all next to each other. So just buying the NFTs and creating the museum and putting it somewhere that you just kind of created a new utility where now you're even you could charge admission to come into your gallery, but also the digital real estate value
Yep.
of your plot will go up in value
Yep.
too, as well as the stuff around it. You got smart guy will probably buy everything around him too.
Cash flow and investment, which is a dream scenario. We'll get into sports betting, and I want to hear your macro thesis on the hobby and NFTs. But real quick, gas fees. Last night I sold my World of Women. It was 1.8 Ether. It was a $40 gas fee, tiny. This morning it was 500. So this fluctuation kind of leaves people with a bit of uncertainty, I guess is the best way to word it. How do you think about gas fees?
I think gas fees are a negative right now, especially as the network kind of grows. The gas fees go up. It's kind of like a speed bump, I think, in the world that eventually the gas fees will come down. I think that's like one of their biggest goals is to lower the gas, and I think that they will. It's just for now, it's kind of like an issue. A lot of people that are buying the NFTs, since they go up in value so crazily, like stuff can double or triple overnight. They don't really care about the gas fees. Like for me, yeah, I've added up some gas fees, but just one NFT sale kind of makes up for all the gas fees that I've ever had. So for me, it's not a big issue, but Ethereum is working on bringing down the gas, and they've come a long way from years ago. Same with Bitcoin. I think there was like $1 billion Bitcoin transaction that took place the other day, and the guy paid like $10 in fees or something, something crazy.
I remember
it was like some $1 billion transaction. The guy barely paid anything. So I think the fees will eventually get lower. But yeah, when the Ethereum network is super volatile, you see the gas fees kind of like get crazy.
And it's we've seen it. It's funny. A lot of people have got into crypto in like the last 12 months, right? Since their stimulus checks kicked in, and they're like, let's do this. If you guys were with us in 2015 when Bitcoin was kind of popular, there were days where gas fees were astronomical, and you had a transaction kind of stuck in the metaverse without being confirmed for. I had one took 2 days to confirm. So it was. These are all kind of these growing pains that these cryptocurrencies go through that are actually addressed with what I think of as economies of scale. Is kind of how I see it. As a industry, as a crypto, as a currency matures, these things get addressed.
It's kind of funny though, because people that use the naysayers of crypto all the time say you can't buy anything with your crypto. Well, now you see these, it's so many millions selling in NFTs. And now they say, oh, now look at your gas fees, but you said you couldn't buy it. Now you can buy something. So it's the fact that people are now transacting with it for the first time ever. That's also a part of the reason why NFTs have gone so crazy is that people who have held crypto for so many years finally actually now have something they can buy seamlessly with it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword where the gas fees are high, but the network is showing that, yes, there is things that you can buy. And it goes both ways basically.
Okay, Jenny, NFT questions. I do want to do maybe 5-7 minutes here of I'm going to pick your brain on sports betting if you don't mind.
I mean, it's all the same stuff, right? I mean, you can get right into the sports betting. Right? We're all gambling. I mean, it really is. It's just it's calculating risk. It's risk management, right? And I'm sure the gambling DNA that Summertime Cards here has is probably part of what led him into cards again. As a gamble and opening up packs, he can get an edge, which is what all gamblers look for by buying raw and grading with PSA. that edge, is not as sharp as it was previously. There's still some edges to have out there. It looks like the edge is there in NFTs. And then we're going to talk about sports betting. To me, it's all part of the same DNA. We're all in this. We're all looking to try to make money. We're all trying to, educate ourselves and find an edge. And I love the way you put it, Andrew, about it being agnostic. Because what we haven't heard from him yet is, that's terrible. He doesn't understand plasma bears. Okay, I get that, right? It's fine. That's about as close as we got, which is, it's not saying the hell with that, right? But, whether it's Rolex, and I guess I'm mad. I should have bought that Milgauss for $4,000, even though it's an ugly color of green. Rolexes, wines, collectibles, gambling, cards, NFTs, whatever it may be, it all is part of the same kind of equation. We're all chasing, chasing alpha, right?
It's collectibles. Yeah, it's non-revenue producing collectibles that people just want to own. Like that's simply what it comes down to, and predicting like what's going to have more demand coming in for it, and that's what's going to drive the prices. If more people are going to want it in the future, it's going to go up. If less people are going to want it, it's more than likely going to go down. Agreed. I'm not fully agnostic, actually, though. One thing that I kind of always do is I have to actually like it. So I've seen a lot of NFTs that I know are going to go up, but I didn't buy them because I didn't like it, which I kick myself a little bit. But yeah, like that's just something that I do, that I will not buy something unless I genuinely want to own it, because if I lose money on it, at least I believed in it, and I kind of liked it, rather than just speculate on something that I feel like is going to go up because I see the momentum, but I don't necessarily like.
So buy what you love carries over to NFTs, but you don't have to worry about buy the card, not the slab.
Yeah, exactly. Buy what you love works in everything in life, I think. Actually,
can you love the creator behind it and not necessarily the art? Because I think most people out there know who you're talking about. Cage had a light bulb. He's like, because can you respect like the creator, but also understand that the creator has limitations and that the art is subjective?
No, I wouldn't. If I think if an artist I like makes something and I think it's garbage, I'm not going to buy it. I would just go and buy more of the other one, because now I think the other one is actually worth even more because he actually fumbled the ball in the next one.
What about the utility and access, right? So that's the whole thing about NFTs that we didn't even get into. It's okay. There's the art, the PFP. But there's also the utility, right? You get, 10-minute consultation call with me if I'm a businessman, or, I'll do a design for you. What about access and utility? Do you weigh that?
I would. If I currently I've only bought NFTs that I buy just kind of like for the cultural significance, the historical significance, and the artwork. That's kind of like what the main three things that I'm looking for in the NFTs that I buy. That's why something like plasma bears and some of these other NFTs, someone really tried hard to explain to me why plasma bears are going to matter in 2025. It's very hard. It wasn't one of the first NFTs. It didn't, you don't see celebrities or this massive community around them. So I struggle to buy NFTs like that. The reason I like the Pepe so much is because they really created what we see today with the CryptoPunks, all this stuff. Pepe came before CryptoPunks. So
is this a plasma bear?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Cool.
No,
I did buy one of those and sold it, because there was one influencer who posted one, and the guys just had this track record that every time he posts a plasma bear or anytime he posts an NFT, the value doubles in 2 seconds. I did buy one and then I sold it. I don't think they're bad looking, but there's going to be so many thousands and thousands of NFTs. You need to have a strong foundation as to why you're going to matter down the line in order for me to be interested in it.
Makes sense.
The big difference between sports betting and any of the other things you mentioned is if you're wrong or right, you still have an opportunity to kind of cash out. With sports betting, you can be so right yet so wrong, and at the end of the day, your investment goes to zero. So give us your principles. One of my favorite books is Ray Dalio Principles, where he lays out a kind of his foundation for investing. what do you have a set of principles that you would recommend to people about? We'll talk about sports betting. I'm sure there will be some carryover, but specifically sports betting.
Well, with sports betting, like I don't really see myself as a gambler per se. Like I don't go to a casino. I have no interest in actually like gambling in a casino at a blackjack table or anything like that. The way I looked at sports betting is more like day trading stocks. So like, yes, it is true that 99.9% of day traders lose, but there is an amount that have won long term. So when people say
Tim
like,
Sykes is a good example of that, by the way.
huh?
Tim Sykes is someone I respect a lot in that space.
Yeah. So it is kind of like smart, like okay to say like, yeah, everyone's going to lose sports betting, but that's not necessarily true. There are people that for 20, 30 years have consistently won and found an edge. So long as you're basically either your subjective way of looking at it is sharper than the lines, or you find different like systems that kind of work that like Bayes hasn't figured out. You can kind of gain an edge. For me, the number one tip I tell people is don't wager on the games and do not wager on the totals. You're already at a huge disadvantage. You're trying to launch a half-court shot. Go as niche as possible into the wager type that you do. So try to wager on how many assists a player is going to have over or under, because there's way less factors that comes into something like that. Or I used to wager on like what team is going to call timeout first in the game. Like the amount of time that Vegas and the odds makers take coming up with those lines is very, very small. So if you spend hours and hours and hours obsessing over that, trying to figure it out, you probably will be able to gain advantage.
Well, not because it's a coin flip. What he's saying here, guys, is that they're not going to spend time, but you can research that there are 5 or 8 coaches in the league that take timeouts early, maybe because their quarterback is disorganized or whatever it may be, and you're able to gain an advantage over Vegas. They're just, okay, it's a coin flip, it's 50-50, but you realize that over the last 5 seasons, John Gruden calls timeout in the first 5 minutes because his team's got too many penalties or because they're uncoordinated, they can't get on the field. So you're now getting an advantage by doing more research than the other side is doing. Well, that's what you're saying. It's not a coin flip.
I'll give one nugget. You just the road team always is going to call timeout first because of the noise. They end up calling timeout first a grand majority of the time. So
this is in NFL, right? NFL specifically.
Yeah. So road team's going to call. You always bet on road team to call the first timeout. And that's profitable. It's profitable until the lines makers figure it out, and then they adjust the lines. But a lot of times it takes them quite a while, because if you're the only person kind of getting an edge on them and betting this for the max, which usually is not too crazy on a player prop, they don't care. Like, oh, someone figured it out. Well, there's 10 other guys who didn't figure it out who are losing juice to us, and we're still profitable on this wager type. So they allow you to keep going. So I would say wager on like the things that nobody else is wagering on, and try to find a niche. Even if it's a niche sport, like golf is easier than wagering on NFL, let's say, or like these other sports. And that's kind of like if you're actually trying to gain an advantage and trying to win money long term, those are that's one tip I would say. Like, never ever wager on like a game Sunday night just because you're down. Like, you only wager when you feel like you have a significant advantage and you can kind of like really point at the advantage, something like that, figuring out the road team and like, no, look, I've done the research. 63% of the time the road team calls time out. I've gone through the data. So I would say like having like very specific reasons as to why you think you have an advantage, and only wagering on games like that, and just being honest with yourself. If you're not winning, it's hard. It's not easy. Like, I tried playing poker. I wasn't good at it, but with sports, I did well and continued to do well. So I kind of just stuck with that because it's not for everyone. You have to be like very emotional. You have to be very disciplined. You have to be, you can't have that gambling gene. If you have the gambling gene, there are some guys who have it and then they say they're able to like reel it in. But for the most part, I feel like it's very, very hard.
I don't believe them. I don't believe them.
Me too. I chase.
Chase.
By the way, go for cards. right? So find that niche, find that thing. This was 2012 Prism for me 3 years ago when no one else was buying it and then grading it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's guys like Yamwax who are finding, Elon Musk rookie cards. It's guys who got into golf and tennis cards and boxing and even soccer ahead of the curve, right? It's fine.
And even F1?
Even F1 for now
too.
remains to be seen, right? But
Or
even
wax.
for right now,
Like-
F1 wax, and so find where you have the edge. Second, don't chase. You happen to open 3 or 4 boxes or something, and you go down in flames. Don't say, well, you know what? I'm $2,000 in. You might as well yank that National Treasures or box off the wall and open that one now and quadruple down because I'm going to make it all back in this next box.
No, the box is the worst. That's
So-
just a no-go all the way. You're never winning opening boxes.
So there's,
That's
it's funny. It really is all the same, all the same part of this. I call it the gambler's mentality. You've taken the, let's call it the gamble to the next level, which is, only play if you're able to put the odds in your favor, which to me, I'm like, that's what's the fun in that?
I'm Cage Lawyer. The odds are always in my favor.
Yeah, that's right. May the odds always be in my favor. And when they're not great, then the odds are wrong.
Yeah, and to an extent, like I kind of got burnt out from the sports betting because I never really got there was no like enjoyment in terms of like the gambling rush or whatever. So after doing it for a long time, I actually recently last year I stopped doing it just because it wasn't as enjoyable anymore. Like I wanted a new chat, like just betting on the road team, a call time out first or something. Like it's just yes, it would make me money, but I wanted a new challenge, and I've had a lot of fun buying, like higher end sports cards and buying the NFTs and getting into the crypto and kind of like diversifying the money that I made from sports betting and putting it in these different industries that I think are on the rise. I have a question for you two guys. When it comes to like the extremely high end sports cards, the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million cards, like where do you guys like see that going, like over the next, like 5 years, 10 years? Yeah, I'm curious to see. I'll throw my 2 cents after that I've been thinking.
Fractional's blown the roof off of things. So whether that's Collectible, Rally, and Otis, or even Dibs, I got to give them credit for how they've been doing their stuff with fractionalizing it through crypto. I think we see that when we collectively invest in something, we're way less disciplined in knowing what something's worth, right? Like I can't really buy a Michael Jordan PSA 10 Fleer on my own, but if they fractionalize it, all right. And if it's 20, 30% higher, I'll chase, I guess, right? So I think fractional has blown the roof off of things. And fractional is not just going to happen with cards. It's going to happen with $1 million properties, like really elite properties. So I was listening to an episode with Raoul Paul, and he was talking about like, it's so counterintuitive. And it's funny. He said this, Raoul Paul, about traditional investments. And Lior said this as well. He said, it's counterintuitive. The highest value assets are the ones that actually appreciate more than the average assets. So like from our family house, we bought it for $200K. Now it might be $400K 20 years later. But Cage's penthouse in New York, he bought it for 25 mil. Now it's 50 mil in 1 year. So those assets appreciate way faster. So it's kind of this counterintuitive thing, and fractionalizing, tokenizing, whether that's through collectible and they're regulated by SEC and Rally and Otis, or just through traditional kind of like cryptocurrency fractional, I think it's going to blow the lid off of really high value, sought after things.
So you know what's funny, right? So the easy answer is those 7-figure cards, they'll be fine. Not everything's going to be fine, but those 7-figure cards are going to be fine, right? And they're always going to continue to go up for exactly the same reason that you talked about with your Ether Rocks, right? Because the people who are going to own those, that's not their whole wealth. It's not me where I'm scraping together everything, selling both of my kids' blood and semen for a month so that I can buy a Mickey Mantle PSA 8. No, right? Like the guys who own the 8s, the 9s, right? This is like, it's like a toenail to them, right? It's nothing, this is not going to impact their wealth one bit, right? Or it's held by a fund, right? And you're talking about like true scarcity. It doesn't have to be just a mantle. It could be the Giannis 1 of 1. It could be, these precious metal gems, the really highly sought after 7-figure, you name it, cards, because They're held by a fund that is chasing alpha, and it has to show return. So they can't sell it at a loss, right? They'll only sell it when somebody comes in to make money for them and their investors on the card. That's not going to be the case for everything else, though. Eventually,
Right.
there will reach a breaking point for it. And what's funny is this has been borne out over time.
A correction, not a breaking.
I collected in the 80s, right? And there's very little stuff from the 80s that mattered. But if instead of buying, a whole bunch of garbage, instead of buying a whole bunch of 87 tops, Bo Jackson and Will Clark and Mike Greenwell, who were, big names at the time, right? Instead of buying those cards, if I would have just put that money into either a piece of a Mickey Mantle or a Honus Wagner or whatever it may be, or scraped it all together and bought one of those, or got into a group and bought those, okay, I would hold that. And yes, maybe in the 90s it goes down, right? Maybe in 2000 it goes down. But you know what? Then in 2000, should I be buying Carmelo Anthony cards like I was? And if I were in the Mantle or the Wagner, or it doesn't have to even go back that far. You know what I mean? The Ricky Henderson rookie, which is really scarce, and I mean it's not 7 figures, but you get the point, right? Yeah. In 2006, now I don't know what Luka's going to do. I have no idea. I don't know what Trae Young's going to do. But people are putting money in Trae Young right now. Maybe it's smarter to be putting it in the stuff that every 15, 20 years, if you would just put it in that's the stuff that continues to go up. It's not as sexy. No one's giving stories now about how they paid $5 or $10 plus grading fees and flipped that $15, $20 for $500. But over time, I think because of what hands, you talk about diamond hands versus paper hands, what hands those high class, the high value assets are going to be in, those are going to be the safer plays over time. Because the people who hold them don't need to get out of them, and they're definitely not going to be the ones who are going to get made fun of getting out of it at a loss.
Yeah. I actually like some of for the short term. I think long term you're right, but for short term, something like buying Trae Young, I actually think it's smart, because if you look at a lot of the stars in the NBA, let's say like Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, right? All these guys who their values are not too crazy now, but they all had a massive upswing at some point in their career, because they showed promise, and then eventually, like Russell Westbrook won an MVP, even Derrick Rose. A lot of people, he fell off, but if you bought him his rookie year, he won MVP. You killed it if you sold at the right moment. So I still think buying the young guys, like we've seen a million times with young guys, they hit like a milestone accomplishment, and there actually is an exit point there. If you don't plan on holding for a long time. But I do think, if you're long term, just buying LeBron now or buying LeBron, buying Michael Jordan, those guys, whatever card basically is going to probably perform better. But yeah,
listen, it's not the rarest insert in the world, but Scoring Kings, Michael Jordan, one just sold this weekend for $21,000 on PWCC with the whole deal, right? I bought mine for like 18, and there's like 90 something of them. It's not the rarest thing in the world, but I'm not selling it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it would have to go to like $100,000 before I thought about selling it. You know what I mean? It's that type of thing, right? You talk about your diamond hands, right? I mean, you talk about that kind of stuff. So he's going to show something.
What you got there? What you got there?
I bought this is you bought the Jordan. This is Pop 199. It's the oh man, this lighting kind of sucks. No, they can't do this to this card. This is
numbers.
the lenticular.
Is that hot numbers? Is that a flare hot numbers? It looks like.
Yeah, let me get better lighting because I can't ruin this card like this. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's the hot numbers insert. That's kind of like, oh, there we go. See, it's kind of like the lenticular.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think Flare Showcase is one of the nicest designs out there. I'd put them top 3.
It's amazing to me what those cards go. I pulled that card out of a pack multiple times, but they're just hard in PSA 10. Like I was opening packs when those came out.
Yeah, these because the back of these are like there's all this color, so it's hard. But I think this technology for 1995 is like incredible. So like something like this cost me $3,000. I feel like that can only go up because there's only 200, and like
what worries me?
I don't think any of those people are really trying to sell it. Everyone's just legitimately trying to they just want to own it and add it to their collection. So I like stuff like that. Like that's what I buy that I have no intention of selling anytime down the road. And the other cards I have too, like some of them I would sell, but like if I were to do very good outside of the cards with the other stuff that I do, and I would hold a lot of them. Not all of them, but like a lot of like some of these. Like if he has a great year, maybe I would sell one of these of Michael Porter Jr. This is his RPA out of 99.
We call him Michael. We call him Michael Porter Jesus on the show.
Really?
I also have another nickname for him. Overrated.
Overrated.
He's not rated, Cage. He's out. His base prism is $100. No one rates him. You just hate him.
He didn't show his base prism.
Wait, you think Michael Porter Jr. is overrated?
Yeah. Yep. Well, my co-host compared him to Kevin Durant.
He had the most efficient season in the history of the NBA for a swingman last year.
That's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. You know what you just did there? You just weaved a narrative, right? So hey, I love this NFT because when you combine the fact that this CryptoPunk has a frown and the purple hat and it's the rarest one that there is. Everybody has to spin their own yarn, right? So when you were a kid playing basketball, right, and you did the whole like you holding the basketball and you were ready, and it was you against, for me it was Magic Johnson. It was me against Magic Johnson, and it was 3-2, and Cage goes for the last second shot, and it's over Magic Johnson, and 3-2, buzzer, you shoot it. You won. You won the championship. You won. You beat the Lakers. Did you, as a kid in the schoolyard, say 3-2? Oh my goodness, Summertime Cards has the most efficient season for a swingman ever. No one gives a shit about that. Come on. You're not buying a card of somebody.
He doesn't watch basketball.
It's
irrelevant.
Win. Get the last second shot, win the championship, then I'll buy you cards.
He doesn't watch
he has to win a title. I'm saying someone like this who already is having seasons comparable to Kevin Durant at such a young age, what do you think is going to happen in 5 years?
Oh my
like, where do you It's just statistically,
he's the next Durant.
Like he's going to continue to get. But if you just look at the history of basketball players, they don't peak in their second or third year. He's going to continue to get better and better and better.
He's the next
it's just
Durant.
about getting the right team around him, and I think eventually, he will be a part of a.
I mean, he doesn't already have like the MVP with him and Jamal Murray.
Well, I'm saying he's only a second year player. I'm saying Kevin Durant had Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and they didn't win a title.
That's true.
It took time, and then eventually he did get there.
He had to join a 70-win team to do it. Yeah. I hate when people compare people to Durant because I think Durant's a joke in and of itself anyway.
I wouldn't compare anyone to Durant, but someone like him who in his second year is averaging, could go off for 50 any night. He averages like 20 plus. He barely shoots. He's
who else can score 50 any night? Devontae Graham can score 50 any night also, but it doesn't make a difference. Scoring 50
it's not true. That is not a true statement.
It is true.
It's true, but he's highly inefficient. It's a big difference. Nobody wants Devontae Graham because he shoots 40% from the field.
That's right. But not even. I think he might be less than 40%
from three.
Might be less.
A lot of times, may I chime in here, fellas?
No.
You watch basketball, right? Like you actually watch the games. Cool, great. So, because I have this theory that most of the people out there talking about players, they don't actually watch the sport or the games that we're talking about. We never ask the why. So like this concept of first principles is something I'm thinking a lot more about. It's like, okay, Devontae could go for 55, so can Michael Porter Jr. They're the same player. That's not how it works. You have to ask why. And what assets or tools do these players have? So the reason there's a comparison to Durant is Michael Porter Jr. is incredibly athletic. He's quick. He could finish at the rim. He has an incredible offensive game off the dribble and a catch and spot up shooter, and he's long. So he's a mismatch anywhere he goes. Devontae is 6'1", 6'2", so he's not a mismatch. So yeah, maybe he could catch fire. These guys are the best 250 players in the world, but that's not where the comparison is. The comparison is the tools in their tool belt and how they could use those to be successful. That doesn't mean
he's awesome, man. 3 years in, I mean, really only 2 years in, and
he didn't listen to anything I said.
Injury history. I listen to everything you said. He's got tools. He's got tools in the tool belt. He's amazing. He's fantastic. You say he could score 50 any night. He's never even scored 40. He never even scored 40.
I'm saying because
he's never even scored 40. I win, and time will allow me to win. Michael Porter Jr. is a joke. He's a kaboom. He is a run-up because people like him, right? He's a run-up because people have invested in him. He isn't even a legit. He's like the third option on his own team, right?
Exactly.
So it is what it is, man. He's a third option on his own team. To me, that's not who you invest in. It's easy.
And this is my co-host. This is what made our show so successful.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the fact he's a third option, like that's the reason to invest in him, because he is a third option on his team. He is coming off injury, and he just shot 54% from the field and 44% from three. That's historic numbers. Like that's it. That's the most efficient season ever for a swingman, and it's his second year. So the people buying him are laughing right now.
So I think you just saw his best.
I think he would never have a season like this, and he had it in his second year. That's incredible.
I think you just saw the best you're ever going to get out of him.
Well, yeah, that could potentially be true, but I think one day he's not going to be the third option, and he's going to average 30, because it's
he's also got every team's third best defender on him.
There's some truth to that, but he's a mismatch, Cage. The issue with Cage is he's 96.3% right, but when he sinks his feet into the ground on a guy he doesn't like, he will strangle him like a boa constrictor no matter what. You could douse him with logic, and he'll miss it. So,
and
guys,
you know what it is? It's always on something where the alleged smart money is over the top on it, right? So that 3%, you'll have to give me this. It's always when there's some euphoria on potential. There's always this, there's the Michael Porter Jr. love. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a good player. He's a very good player. But the love that he gets and the undying devotion he gets from the crew of people investing in him, it's almost unnatural. It's unorganic. It's like the Kaboom Cabal. So that's where I dig my heels in. That's where I say, you know what?
Bro, he's 1/8 of the price of Luka. His prices don't.
He's also 1/8 the player of Luka, and no one gives a shit.
Is that a fact? Prism. I'm not so sure.
No one gives a shit about his Prism card. His RPA is not 1/8. It's probably less than 1/8.
But the RPA is probably a 15K card.
No, it's actually the discrepancy is higher with the RPA.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Probably even
get,
more. The RPA probably, because the Luka, I mean, there's only 99 of them. The big money people want to get them. So I'm sure it's even worse in the RPA than it is in the Prism. But hey, listen, 39 points. If you want to invest in a guy who's 3 years in the league and best he's ever done is 39 points, third option on a team, have at it, guys. Michael Porter Jesus is the way to go. He could potentially become something like Durant one day.
So we started this episode.
People are looking at like the potential as the reason why they're getting in. They're thinking that, okay, like you may be right. 50% of the time, he's not going to become what people think he's going to be. But if they're right, they're going to make 20 times on their money. And they've seen enough flashes where they kind of like think that it's going to eventually happen. And last year was a very good season for him. So we'll see. I'm still I'm bullish on him.
See, I like Michael Porter. I think of Chris Bosh. A real good player, like a real great player.
Chris Bosh is good.
Like a real good player. I think I'm a different type of player. I think of like Ray Allen, like a real good player, a winner, like a real good player with a great resume. You know what those two guys have in common?
Is Chris Bosh a good player?
Nobody gives a shit about their cards.
That's true.
But there's going to be a run up, and then they're not going to give a shit. You're missing the point. That's what we were just talking about. Is that all of these guys in this scenario, Jimmy Butler, Lillard, the guys that Anthony mentioned, they all did have a run up, and then yes, they faded out into oblivion.
They all had a run up at the same time. Porter has
an opportunity for it. Let's keep moving. Anthony, we started this conversation like, what the fuck? And now we're going to end it. It's like, but this is what makes our show different than others. We think of it as more of a radio show than like a traditional podcast. We hop on every single day, do an episode. Guys, if you're with us till the end, you've enjoyed the banter. More than likely, you're an admirer of Cage and Summertime Cards, and hopefully you put up with me. Guys, we are having our NFT.
We love you guys. Michael Jr. sucks. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Head to lucastigers.com. So we're minting our NFTs. If you're interested, please head to lucastigers.com. Take a look. Don't overextend yourself. Don't spend money you don't have. But if you're a supporter of what we're doing and you want to kind of support us long term and be a part of it, lucastigers.com. We're very, very excited. And any final words, man? I'd love to hear in 3-5 minutes or less, kind of like your macro state of the union, kind of what do you think is going to happen with the hobby the next 3 months, kind of as we end 2021 and NFTs?
I think that the hobby is good. I think that the basketball season starting is going to be great. It's right around the corner. We're going to have basketball, football going at the same time. I think that these upcoming auctions are going to be huge because like during the summer, it's kind of like a little bit of a lull. There's actually probably a lot of good opportunities to buy, but I think that everyone's going to be locked in on these auctions. You're going to see a lot of record prices probably coming in the next few months. I personally, I'm a fan of the Fanatics deal. I think that they're like long term, they're going to bring so much attention to the card hobby. I'm particularly bullish for the high end stuff because I actually think that the high end market is pretty small in terms of the amount of big buyers, and I think that's going to grow drastically. I think that increased attention is going to bring a lot of the people to that. I still feel like when like certain high end cards sell, I always know who bought it, and like I think to an extent that kind of goes to show like that the high end market has some growing to do, and I'm excited to see what Fanatics does. I think they'll be very innovative and good with the marketing of cards. And yeah, NFTs I think are here to stay. I think that they're way more collectible than the people on the outside looking in think, and that the people really enjoy them, and that there is a flipping aspect to it, similar to how when cards ran up, a lot of people were buying the flip. That is to an extent true, but there are also people that are buying the flip to buy an NFT that they really like, and I'm pretty bullish about NFTs in the short term and long term as well. It just comes down to the humans and like what they want to buy and what they want to own. And I think sports cards, NFTs, it's just this new shift that's happening in collectibles market. That's what people want. That's what they want to spend. When they have extra income, what are they going to go do? Some people are going to buy cards. There's now this whole sect of people who are going to buy NFTs, and I think that I don't see either one really slowing down.
I love it. Summertime Cards on Instagram, guys. Great follow, even better person. Reach out to him with any questions. He's super, super responsive. Puts out great content. He does IG lives, kind of impromptu. So please keep those going. We're big fans, big supporters. Appreciate you joining us for the show.
Okay. Thanks for having me on, guys.